Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our Lunchtime Linkup Series, where we talk with members of the DivInc community about how we are impacting the tech ecosystem with diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility as our guide. I'm your host, Cherise Luter, and we are in part 2 of our Meet the Founder series for our spring 2022 Sports Tech Accelerator here in Houston, done in partnership with Verizon. And today I have the founder of Playbook Five, Jason Robinson, who is going to share with us a little bit about his story, a little bit about his company, and I'm going to let him take it away. Jason, go for it.
Sweet. Thank you, Cherise, for having me. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm a part of the spring 2022 Sports Tech Accelerator here in Houston. It's been a blast so far, and I'm looking forward to demo day. But a little bit about myself. So I actually came out here from Los Angeles, California, born and raised there. Played college football at Boise State. Kind of went through the whole coach's son experience. Played college football. Just had a very unique sport experience. I'm kind of humble about it, but it was very unique. But when I was done with that, I had a passion to take those experiences and attempt to scale them so other people could have them. Having the opportunity to have a dad as a coach and play on one of the better college football teams ever has definitely opened up some doors and brought some joy to my life. And we try to use technology to bring joy and magic to other people's lives. And right now we're doing that through Playbook Five, where we have an AR, VR learning platform. And for those of you that may not know what those terms mean, AR is augmented reality, VR is virtual reality. And we use that technology to give players access to the field from anywhere they're at, and also expert instruction. So while kids may not have a dad as a coach, they can now use our technology and have somewhat of that experience by having immersive access to elite instruction and repetition. So it's really pretty exciting stuff. I'm excited to continue to grow and scale the company, and I'm definitely enjoying everything DivInc has done to help support us.
Now, I know you said you want to be humble.
Yeah.
I know you want to, but I do believe that the experience and that story of you being a player and you experiencing that high level of coaching with your father and others makes you perfect for this type of work and this type of company as its founder. So can we go back and you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I could talk about it. My dad is a great individual in general. Was a great coach as well. A little bit about my dad as well. He played college football at Grambling State University. So he played for Eddie Robinson, and which arguably one of the better leaders in American history, if not the best college football coach, at least one of them in American history. So I feel like if my dad in general, just as a coach, was just so much better because of that experience, and then me being able to play for him, and also the time in which I played for him. So my dad is, I won't say his age, but he's older pops, and I came around the tail end of his career. So when I came around, he had already had 2 championship appearances. He had 20 years under his belt, had been at one school. So I really benefited from plugging in and just being dropped in to a great coach's life. So that's pretty much all I've known, is what it feels like to be around a coach who is winning games, who is a leader in the community, who is a great father, and a great professional. So that helped me as a player for sure, just being able to even just see the environment through the lens of a coach. But certainly now as an entrepreneur, also helps not just how we have a football company or a sport company that works in football right now. So there's a lot more that shows up, but even beyond the sport, just from a professionalism standpoint, I think that's the thing that I appreciate the most about my dad instilled in me, is like, every day we get up and we go to work. Like, that's what we do. That's just, you can't be late. You can't be late to the game when you're the coach. You know what I'm saying? You can't miss, and while there's always things that come up, there's just a certain level of dedication that comes when you see somebody who is coaches are the chief executive officer of the team.
Right.
That's what they are. Like, they're the CEO. They don't, very much like a CEO, right? You manage the coordinators and the position coaches. You set the plan, you set the agenda, they carry it out. Really, you're just sitting around waiting for things to break and to fix them and modifying as they go. So I think just that's something that I think naturally I have as a result of being a son of a coach and spending a lot of time around my dad. Because my brother and I both, like, I think there's coaches' sons, and then there's like coaches' assistant sons. We were the coaches' assistant sons. Like, we did everything, bought equipment, taped ankles if we needed to, folded jerseys, drew plays up. We were our dad's road dogs, as he would say. So
So was that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said we just learned a lot from that.
So it was because you were such an integral part in his work, not just as a player, but also as the coach's assistant son. I would imagine it's from that understanding of how valuable that experience is for the players that led you to want to create Playbook Five and bring that experience to as many people as possible, understanding that yours was pretty unique and something that not many people will ever, under the normal circumstances, undisrupted, most people won't have the access to a high level coach.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about Playbook Five and how it brings what you experienced to the rest of civilians.
Yeah. It's good to know. So exactly. So being around my dad meant, like, he had a film session, we'd go, right, with the coaching staff. My brother and I sit in on it. Mm-hmm. So we learned so much more about the game because we were immersed in it, around people that knew more than us. We heard different things all the time, like a more mature articulation of what's going on from being around real professionals. At home, it's like watching Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, college football. It's not the same viewing experience. Mm-hmm. It's almost an educational one, because my dad would be looking for things that he could do during his games. So he'd be pausing or stopping and watching and looking and then taking the time to explain to my brother and I, here's what's going on. Sometimes he'd just be talking to himself even, and we picked up on all of that. I definitely did. And that is what I think helped me a lot as a player, because as I got to college, what I noticed was I had a lot of injuries in high school and even leading into college, and I had position changes quite a bit because I was a good player, but my physical abilities were restricting me from some positions and making me more fitting for others. But these are sometimes positions that I never played before, but I was able to pick those positions up quickly because I had this broad and universal understanding of the game. And that comes from just being around coaches, being around people that are thinking about the strategy, not just like, you can run fast, you can jump high, you can, size is definitely, all of the physical attributes are certainly a huge part of sport. But the mental side of it is, I would say, arguably the more important part, especially as you increase the level of play, as you get up to, college and pro, or even the elite high school and the elite amateur stuff that we're seeing these days, because the human body's kind of fixed a little bit, right? You can only be so tall, you can only be so fast, but we only use 10% of our mind. So imagine how much more potential is available through strengthening the mind in sport instead of focusing on solely just the physical side of it. We can only get but so fast, so tall, so strong. And our hypothesis, I guess you can say, is that as we transition out of this bigger, faster, stronger phase of sport where we've been in for the past 20 years, that mental preparation and stretching the mind as it relates to sport will become an increasingly deciding factor in who wins and who doesn't.
And Playbook Five is one of those solutions to that transition.
And we are the leader in that.
Okay.
If I may say so myself. We are.
It's just us here, so
that's exactly what we do. Is try to focus athletes on understanding the mental side of the game, and we do that through a technology that they can do it. So that's another thing that's interesting too, right? It's like the one thing I'll say about growing up as not just as a coach's son. I'll give my mom some credit. My mom's a high school principal, and that gave me my introduction to computers. My grandmother as well. My grandmother ran an elementary school, started and funded her herself, and we would always get these tools because you get, like vendors come by, you got to new this. So we'd get all this stuff and we get exposed to it. And my mom would bring it home, and my grandmother would bring it home, and we'd have to figure out the curriculum, right? So how do you embed this new technology into the school and match what we have to do? So that's what we did with Playbook Five. Like, right, here's the tool, but then the process became, how do we embed that into sport in a way that is, good for the entire ecosystem? And that's the beauty of what we're doing, is this has never really been able to be done before, because it's just, it's not that coaches were negligent. We talk about these coaching statistics, and sometimes it can come off as if coaches don't want to do their job. That's not the case.
Yeah.
What happens is there's a ratio problem with how many coaches there are versus how many players there are. There's a budget issue in most cases, and there's an experience threshold that may not be met. So before, coaches were just trying to figure this out, and athletes are trying to figure this out without having virtual reality and augmented reality and immersive technology. Well, now, because this technology has evolved, and we've taken the time to figure out how to embed it within sport, we now have a situation where we can allow players to get reps, attention, and learn without having to be under the supervision and guidance of a coach, which takes away the ratio issue, right? And it makes their time on the field more beneficial, because now they're coming with reps. They're not, you don't want to go to, Eddie Robinson always had this. My dad would always tell me, like, so like the idea that when you cross the lines at practice, like there's no walking on the field. Like you don't walk. And the reason why is because, you people hear those things. It's like, oh man, they're tough on these guys, man. Like they're geez, man, this is like the military. No, it's not that. It's a time thing. You might only had a field for 4 hours. If you walk in and we got to get through 25 different sets of plays for this team, we don't have that time, right? So it's not so much of a militant driven practice. It's just like, time. And at the amateur levels, you have that even more so, because you have these schools that are sharing fields and sharing resources across the entire athletic department. So you might have a soccer team, you might have a football team, you got a basketball team, volleyball team, and you got regular PE classes that are just people that are not even a team, they just have to get on the field. So it's not, I don't think it's the best way of doing things has been to, or the way things have been previously done is you put so much pressure on the coach to maximize that practice session when they have to still teach the player. So our thing is, well, hey, what happens if that player already shows up taught?
Yeah.
Now practice becomes a place to perform and improve, not teach. So take the teach off of practice, put that into Playbook 5, do that very scalable through AR and VR and through our headsets. Now the players show up ready, and now they just need to perform and actually improve. And then that way, I think that's in my mind, that brings the enjoyment back to the game. Like you don't, because it's tough to, especially for kids, when they don't know something. As an adult, when I don't know something, I'm not really enjoying it. You know what I'm saying? But if I've taken the time to understand it, I have the confidence about it. Now I'm more likely to be engaged, and now I'm more likely to stay. And that's what we want to do. We want more kids playing sports, because athletes earn higher grades, athletes graduate at a higher rate, and athletes drop out less frequently. So we need to exist in order for people to feel comfortable and continue to feel comfortable playing the game and playing sports.
So it sounds like you are solving multiple problems. You're solving the scalability for the coaches, access for players, and then making practices more efficient and more about application as opposed to education. So solving all of those problems with one platform, that's pretty exciting. So I'd like to know, when someone signs up, they get their headset or whatever equipment that they're using in order to properly use the platform. What is the experience like for that player and that coach?
So for the player, we'll start there. The player signs up. Let us know, what position you play. We have a suite of courses. So one thing we've done pretty cool is we've designed and created courses alongside professional athletes and collegiate and professional coaches. So we have an entire glossary of courses that span across all positions in football. You pick your course and you'll go into your course. Your course is going to include 2D learning lectures or video lectures, audio tutorials, and then the player has to go through a certain 2D experience to essentially earn the virtual reality sessions. And then when they go to the virtual reality sessions, they have to perform in a certain number of reps, or have to perform a certain number of repetitions and from a certain number of perspectives, depending on the course, in order to advance to the course. So like it's very much so monitored, right? We tried to design it a lot like practice, right? So you can't, if you don't do your homework, you can't line up. If you don't pass the pregame test, you can't line up. That's how the user experience is, to kind of pull the user through while getting them the information that they want. And for the coach, what we've done with them is we've turned them into our partners. So with coaches, we say, hey, come to us. We're going to pay you, build content on our platform that we can then offer to this world of athletes that is looking for your knowledge base and is thirsting for your knowledge base. So for coaches, it's real seamless. It's actually a monetizable situation for them when they can come to us now for the first time ever. Coaches have never had this. Before, a guy like my dad, he had to coach in order to make money off his knowledge base. Well, I didn't want to coach, right? There's a ton of other athletes who may not have the ability to coach because there's only so many opportunities. And we've seen that, whether it's been in professional ranks or college ranks, just the issues with all types of people and turnover, whether it be minorities or women even getting jobs. Well, what if you have these people like myself who have this knowledge base that is pretty much going wasted unless you're coaching? Well, now you can come on Playbook 5, build a course, and then make money selling that course, or providing that course rather, to an athlete who needs it. Like that's probably one of the more impactful things that we're doing that I'm excited about, is actually creating opportunities for people to make money off their intellect in a way they never have before. And to put this in perspective, and I tell this to all my guys when I recruit coaches and talk to them about coming on our platform, to play college football, you have a PhD in college football. You have a PhD.
Never thought about it that way.
You have a PhD, but there's nowhere you can go make money off that level of expertise. You've got to be a coach. You've got to be a journalist and be really lucky, and get into the right spots. And that you might not even be covering your sport for a long time. So that's what I'm excited about, is you take these guys right in the prime of their career and even beyond that, get them on our platform, and they can create this content that is so rich. And you have this large pool of athletes at the amateur level who want their information. They want to learn from professional athletes. They want to learn from professional coaches. But oftentimes they have no way to do it. And unless you can spend, $1,500 and carve out a weekend and go to a specialty camp, or be lucky enough to get invited, there's all these barriers between that player and that coach. We take all of that away and we enrich the content at the same time.
I mean, it all sounds so perfect. And like it's all lining up so perfect. And so I can't help but wonder, what are some of the challenges that you've dealt with and overcome as you've been building this out, whether it be recruitment, whether it be just onboarding and getting people feeling comfortable with AR, VR, because that's still a very scary term for many people. And so
it's a new term, not scary.
Yeah.
It can be scary.
Yeah, I would argue scary for some people.
I got it.
But and maybe just because it's the unknown. And
Yeah.
what does that mean? And what is, I think everyone's just seen what's on movies and using that as their base of understanding. So, what are some of the challenges you faced and had to overcome in order to bring this to market?
No, that's very fair, and I understand. I get what you're saying. I'm just being funny.
No, I know.
So I think one of the biggest challenges is what you mentioned, actually. So trying to figure out how to create an experience that doesn't run people away from the medium, right? But for that, I'll take it back to what I mentioned earlier about the experience, taking these tools and figuring out how to make them work, right, for this particular use case. We did that. And that's what we spent our time doing early on. Myself, my co-founder Paulette Trend, Dries and James, and Ann Hadley, our advisor. That's what we spent our early years doing, figuring out how do we build a business that serves the end user without completely scaring people away from the market, right? And I think we've done that. And look, that's meant that sometimes we can't be the shiniest tool on the shelf. That means that we might not be able to go out and do all the fancy videos and all the, stuff you might see from other platforms. But we've thought about things from what we're trying to do and what our intention is, and also putting the end user, thinking about the end user, right? Motion sickness is a thing, right? So while it sounds cool to have guys out there evading linebackers and having a real life deal, yeah, all right, try doing that in VR with motion sickness, right? Or as it might sound good to just go out here and do an AR, tackling sequence in your living room. Yeah, it's all fun and games until you actually stub your toe on the couch, So we've had to think about all of those things as we built this product, because the last thing we wanted to do, our mission is to empower athletes, create more opportunity for them. That's how we empower, through creating more opportunity to learn and opportunity to develop, right? Getting them hurt is not in alignment with that. So I think that's been the toughest challenge, is like trying to take this technology that is very promising, but utilize it in a way that fits our mission and our intention. And I think we've done that. I think I know we've done that. And as long as we continue to ask the right questions to the right people and take the feedback and weave it into what we're doing, we should never lose that. But I'm proud that that's a part of our culture. And we don't, like, as I say this right now, it's like, we say, it's oftentimes as founders, we say things that are hopeful and forward, but then there's also things that are just like real and tangible. That's a real and tangible thing. We've done research studies with institutions in England. We went over there and worked with players that never played the game. We've gone to Bentley College and done research. We spent time in front of the NFL players, college football players, doing our pilots and working with them to get this thing right. And it's less about the outcomes of that, which are helpful, but it's also about the habit and the culture that it creates, because that's just the way we move now. We don't develop until we talk to people, right? Like, we didn't come at this thing like, oh my God, like let's just go kill VR and let's just go crazy. It's like, okay, sure, but let's use it the right way. Like let's do. And I think that is something that, yes, it does start with me. I'm a tech for good kind of guy, right? I want to see everything used in the best case. Again, how do we take the tool and embed it into this world the right way? And I'm happy that we're doing that.
Yeah, and being that you're layering it on to something that is, for many people, something familiar, sport in general, and players specifically, you are going to play a part in removing the stigmas and removing the unknown and removing the concerns of what even AR and VR is in our communities, because you're layering on something that is popular and is easy to understand and is a love for people. So,
Yeah.
You're gonna play a role. Look at you.
It's cool. The thing is like we've been so like focused that that's why I asked even when you said scary, I'm like, what? Because I think about our product.
And it's not.
It's not. And
Yeah,
it's,
once you
what I'm
get
saying?
into it, you're like, oh.
Right.
Yeah.
But I get it from, as I'm even thinking right now about other applications, like you said, movies and things like, but again, we don't, ours is, we've shipped our viewer to other countries and had people in rural areas get a box and get set up and do reps. So, and enjoy it. And, nothing about scary comes from our experience, but I understand where it exists and I understand how you said that. But
yeah, but the fact that yours isn't is going to help.
Right. Yeah, I think the frame. I think it does. I think it definitely does. You know, that is a part of our mission too.
Yeah.
Is how we can. I think it's DivInc. You guys have no problem creating a safe space for all of us. And I don't know the exact statistics, but we can. It doesn't take but a honest eye to go watch a game and see how much the African American community plays a role in sport.
Right.
And when you think about the digital divide and how the communities these people come from and the resources that aren't available, for us to have that opportunity as well, we're not blind to that fact, right? That we can be that first touch point to the future. And in some ways, people will touch this technology because of the market that we serve before they touch an iPad or a digital textbook. So that's a responsibility that we understand and we respect. And I'm happy that we have that, because like I said, that's another thing, going back to my dad's thing. It's my dad's story. The one other nuance there is my dad coached at a very, very underdeveloped high school in Los Angeles. And put it to you like this: shortly after my dad left, and the state ended up taking it over. So you can think of it as like the Sunset Park, Lean on Me, however you want to, whatever movie you've seen, it's that school in LA. Those are the people that I think about all the time. Like, those are my brothers. Those are my cousins. Those are the guys who call me on random Saturday mornings when, I'm going through something and they just want to tell me, hey, I'm thinking about you and thinking about your dad, or I miss you. That's my family. Those are my guys. And where those guys come from, there's none of this.
Mm-hmm.
There's none of this. But I see how much my life has been shaped and formed and informed because of the access to these tools that my parents gave me and provided me. And we now have that. That's what, it's funny. Oftentimes people ask, investors, they say, why? And I'll be honest, like, sometimes they don't come from places I come from. And when I tell them this, they just can't get it. But it's deeper than Playbook 5 teaching you how to play sports. That's just the top line. Like, below that, first of all, we're teaching you how to learn. Like, that's what we're doing. We're not teaching you how to play sports. We're teaching you how to learn sports. And learning is universal. You can learn, it's like a language. If you can learn Spanish, you can learn Latin. That's just the way it goes. If we teach you how to learn a sport, you can learn anything else, because we've given you a framework for educating yourself. So that's there. And then below that, we're giving you access to technology. The future, like, this is not something that, it's not going away, right? We can try to reverse the clock all we want, but it's just not going to happen. Augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, things like the blockchain, that's going to be IoT, and the connectivity of devices is going to be a part of our lives as far as we can see. And the fact that we have the opportunity to expose so many people who would otherwise not be exposed to that technology, that in itself is, a unicorn to me. Like, that's a unicorn. Taking and empowering people to be able to have access and touch technology they otherwise would not have access to.
That's the quote right there. Okay. So We're in the home stretch, getting ready for demo day on June 30th here in Houston at the Ion, and I know y'all are, heads down, prepping, getting your pitches together and all that, but you're also working on some other things that will take you beyond demo day. And so just wanted to hear what's some exciting stuff that's coming up for you all as you're leading into demo day and beyond.
Right. So right now we're fundraising, and that's probably if you ask any founder, that's like the most fun, terrible thing ever going on. It's kind of just the seesaw of emotions. But that is something that has been shaping out for us in the past few weeks. So since we started, we've added 2 more investors to our round, one being the CEO of Trip VR, Nene Reeves. Nene Reeves' company, Trip, they've raised about, I want to say 20 million maybe to date in venture funding. They're known as kind of the guiding light as far as virtual reality business models go. So we're thankful to have her on the cap table or participating in the round. And that just brings in so much experience and access to the network that she's already developed for herself and Trip. And then also another investor we've added is Marcelia Freeman, who is in investor relations at Clear Lake Capital. And she's come on board as an angel, which is, just to give you some context there, Clear Lake Capital is the company that just recently purchased the Chelsea Football Club, run by Jose Feliciano. But Clear Lake is a monster in the private equity space. We're not quite there for them yet, but it is positive signaling to have someone like that is seeing the type of deals that she sees. And has the type of experience that she has to be able to look at us as promising. So that's our biggest deal right now. We also have a number of player and marketing partnerships that we've been working on to bring more awareness to the brand. Some of it's a little premature, so I'll save it for demo day. But we have some really, really awesome people and companies that have partnered with us to help scale this mission and bring it to the athletes around the globe.
That's so exciting. Well, if you want to see Jason's full pitch along with the rest of our 5G Sports Tech Accelerator cohort members, come to our demo day. It's on June 30th in Houston at the Ion. You can sign up at our divinc.org/events page and join us so you can see a little bit more about all of the cohort members. Thank you, Jason, so much for being on this episode today. And we will have a few more founders coming up in our Meet the Founders series as we're closing out the Sports Tech Accelerator and getting ready for demo day. Thank you all for watching today, and until next time, see you. Bye-bye.